Welcome to Amplify Her Virtual Meeting. Today we're talking all about what to do with your single and create a big buzz. And to talk about that, we have Cherryl Ignacio that joining us, music manager, music expert, and she's going to take it away with her presentation. As she talks, feel free to ask questions. She'll answer on the spot. Cherryl, take it away.
Hi, everyone. Hope you're all well. I know some of you can't answer back because everyone's muted, so I'm just going to say hi. Okay, I'm going to dive straight in. Obviously, feel free to ask any questions as I go along, and I'll try to answer them. Anything I do miss out, I'll kind of give out my email and stuff, and you can always DM me on Instagram, so feel free. So I'm going to just start with, okay, I'm going to take it back when you decide to put a single out. So for me, the first thing is when you have your single ready, mixed and mastered, it's important to obviously pick a date of release. You want to kind of give yourself, I would say, 2 months before. So when you're picking your date as well, do look at the calendar, have a look at what else is going on. Is there any festivals? Is there really big events that's happening? Because you don't want to coincide with putting something out there when something else is happening. I think that's really important to think about the clashes that it has with other things going on. Time of year as well. I would probably say latest you should release a single will probably be about the end of November, because December, everyone's thinking about Christmas, obviously. And then probably the next time after is probably end of Jan, beginning of Feb, in time for sort of festival season starts around April, with normally the Great Escape being one of them. So you kind of want to just make sure that your calendar timeline is really important for when you're releasing. Okay, so that's kind of like picking a date. Next thing is picking your distributor. This is really important. I have worked with a few distributors. I'll name a few who I've worked on with. Sound On, they're really good. So they are probably one of the newest. Sound On is the distributor that is by TikTok. So they have been around, I would like to say, just over 2 years, maybe, or around the 2-year mark. They are very TikTok heavy, simply because when you distribute your single with them, you're able to do things like, the 10-second clips. They're able to sort of like put a little bit of sound bite pre-release, and you can choose what you want. So definitely Sound On, I would say, is one to go for, especially if you're just starting out. Then you have the normal ones like AWOL, TuneCore, Ditto. You've got all of those. I would try to go with one that also has an artist liaison team. I think that's really important, because you want to be able to have someone that you can communicate with if something goes wrong, you need a change. You've added something and it's not the right day, or you need help with certain things and it's the first time putting a single out. So I think making sure that they have an artist liaison team, I think, is really, really important. And that when you put out a single, that you try to contact them and ask them first if they have that. And if there's do you get someone designated to you, or is there just like a platform that you can just go to make sure you can ask any questions that you have? If I'm going too fast, let me know. Just write it on the group, because I speak really quickly. So after sort of picking your distributor, if you're I would say if you've been releasing for about a year or so and they've been pretty successful on their own, picking a distributor with a label, I think, is then your next step. So going with a label services, like maybe pitching to someone like Absolute Label Services. They're based in Wimbledon. You've also got Believe, who are based in Tileyard. So they're a distribution that, say, for example, if they really liked your single and they want to help you, you might be able to do like a single deal with them for this distribution, whether that be they pay for a bit of marketing, or they pitch to Spotify and all the platforms on your behalf. This is what the label services are. So if you think that you're at that stage and you think I've got a really good organic fan base, I've got a couple of thousand followers on Insta, my numbers are really good, my socials are really good. The name of the Wimbledon label is Absolute Label Services. So if you kind of feel like you're at that stage, I would definitely go for that next step. There's no harm in finding out. They're really friendly people. I currently use for two of my artists, Absolute. They also work with people like Kaiser Chiefs and things like that. So they work across the board from emerging to people who are already signed. What I mean by that stage, I would say that if you've released, let's say, 4 or 5 singles and you can see your streams are gradually going up naturally, because you're also pairing that with playing live and your socials, you're getting social awareness and your community is starting to know your name and things like that, that's the stage that I would hit up label services. Because like I say with everything, you have one chance. So I would say do it at the right time. Don't do it just because you need help and you're thinking I'm struggling. I would definitely do it when you know you've kind of, right, I've exhausted being with, I don't know, say Ditto or whatever. I'm not really gaining too much help, but I feel like I'm on that next level. You can kind of gauge it when you're starting to feel a little bit of success throughout your singles. If you're sort of stalemating and kind of not reaching 1,000 streams per single in a month, then you still need to carry on doing the basis and keep pushing it out there. So assets is not my favorite thing, and I'm sure it's not yours because no one wants to do their own admin. But assets is a huge part of campaigning. I normally have my artists start having assets ready at least 6 weeks before release. I'll go through what assets we do. Everything I'm talking about as well today, just so you know, it's just through my personal experiences. And obviously me being an emerging artist manager, I don't work for a label. I'm not affiliated with a label or anything. These are just what I've experienced myself with my artists as well. So these are things that are highly doable, and these are things that you can definitely get and definitely can achieve. So assets, first thing I would say is get your calendar ready, work backwards from release date and pitch and go backwards. So the first thing you would need is, if that person, let's say, for example, if radio or press doesn't know you, you're going to need an EPK or a one sheet. They're very much the same thing. So it's a one page of who you are with links to your socials, a little bit about yourself, what you've kind of already achieved. Like, it's all a couple of sentences. And also don't forget to put what's coming up ahead, because people like to know what's happening in the next 6 to 9 months. So once you have that, if you're already tapping up someone that already knows who you are, then the only thing you need to do is a press release. So a press release is really important with every single, any album, any EP that you want to put out there. Doing a press release for that is really, really important. Keep it really simple, because people receive hundreds of press releases a day. So make sure yours stands out. Make sure you've got a bit of flair of your personality in there as well. It doesn't have to be so on a plain white piece of paper with just a picture and a few sentences. Like, do it to your design. So what I would put on there is the cover artwork of your single. I'd put a couple of sentences of what the single's about. If your producer or masterer I would definitely add them onto there as well, telling them also who you're going to distribute with. If you previously have a couple of quotes from either any press or radio, I would put 1 or 2 on there. Again, having your socials and also what you'll be doing following up the single. Maybe you're doing a live show to pair, maybe you're doing a showcase for the single. What festivals are you doing? If you've got any more singles coming out that year, they all want to know about it. And then the next thing I would do after that is I would do photos. So if you have a small budget for photos, what we do, again, my artists have no money. So I always say you do everything from, we start at £0 and we work our way up into budget. So I would really work with, and which we do now and which I'm currently doing, I work with a lot of photography students who want to be on the music scene. We tap them up like all the time. And honestly, because it's kind of like they're helping us, we're also helping them. Because if you get exposure by being on magazine, radio, whatever, any press that they get, they're going to use for their portfolio. So it's always it's really nice to start that relationship with someone new as well, because in 5 years' time, they could be doing all your things. You've already had them from the beginning, so you'll meld that relationship. So photos, I think, is really important. And I know this sounds silly, and it's probably a really silly thing to say, but try to have them all in portrait. That helps with everything. And then also another thing with photos, you need visual videos. I would make them about 10 seconds long. These are to gauge for stories, for TikTok, for short clips as well, for reels. I don't know if some of you know, or some of you already use it. On your Spotify, on your main page, you'll have a section for clips. So I don't know if some of you have that now. So you have to have 1,000 followers in order to get the clips part. So every time you're putting out a single, you can add clips to your front Spotify page, and you can do that through Spotify for artists. So I'm not sure. I struggle to say things in 15 seconds on IG. What can you say in 15 seconds? Even if you don't say anything, just your visuals. If you've got really strong visuals, that kind of says a lot. But then you've got reels. So if you want to do longer, you have got Instagram reels as well. Okay, what else? So I'm just reading my notes as well. Oh yeah, so your assets. Again, I know that like TikTok is, well, for me anyway, is like my hell. And I know it is to a lot of artists as well. But I would try to use TikTok to your advantage, because currently, and it won't be like this forever because there'll be something new that crops up. Currently, I wouldn't just do it about music. I would actually use TikTok to kind of find out who you are as an artist. What do you do in your spare time besides music? I think you should use it to gauge who you are as a person, who your friends and family are, what do you do. TikTok currently has hashtags that they change every, I would like to say, 6 weeks. And also as well, I don't know if you know this, but it is really easy to get in contact with TikTok, especially if you're an emerging artist, to find out what these hashtags are. What I'll do is I will send all this information. I'll probably send it over to Andrea, and she can put it on like she can put it on one of the subscribed things for you, and it will just have all the information. But TikTok have artist liaisons, so whenever you get stuck, they're really easy to contact if you're not in contact with them already. Okay, so once you've got your photos, once you've got visuals, once you've got your EPK and things like that, can't you use the same ones, e.g. new signal? Yes, you can use the same ones, but you have every 6 to 12 weeks, you always have new trending hashtags. So they come in a line basically. So you'll have the old ones like FYP, they'll always be there, but then you'll get the new hashtags that kind of like overtake that for like a few weeks, and then you'll get new and new and new and new. So yeah. And then what I would say, once you have all of that, you're kind of like prepared to start sending things out. I normally start to send press releases out about 3 weeks before the single. If you're looking for a premiere, whether that be a magazine or let's say you're aiming for BBC. Well, I'll go to radio in a sec, but let's say if you're looking for a prem on a magazine, like Dazed or Clash or whatever, they always need 4 weeks. So they always need a month's notice. It would be last minute if they squeezed you in before. So just make sure you do give them a month's notice. With radio, it's normally just a couple of weeks before. If you do have the budget, and I would say pick and choose when you want to do this, go for a PR company to release your single. This is such a tough one. And if anyone on here works on PR, I'm really sorry. It's just experiences I've had. I've had artists who have paid like £1,000 for a campaign.
Sorry, guys, I think she froze. She will be right back. It happened when we were warming up for this, so she'll be right back. It says she joined. It was
Can you hear
emotional.
me?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yes, you're back.
I'm sorry. I have no idea what's happening in my building right now, and it keeps cutting off.
Don't worry.
Yeah, so sorry, what was I saying?
PR companies.
Oh yes, PR companies. So I basically have, not myself personally, but my artists have used PR companies to the point where they save and save and save and save. And again, I'm really sorry if there are PR companies on here. I'm only talking about the experiences I've had. They've forked out on like 1,000, 1,200 pounds for a single campaign, which normally lasts between 4 to 6 weeks, depending on the company. Where they've done it for things like radio and trying to get a premiere. You know, what you have to know at the beginning is that it is not a dead cert. Like, you could come away with literally like nothing. But then also, I don't want you to think that because you're paying £1,200, you're going to get on Radio 1 as well. So I am a very big fan of doing everything on our own. All the Radio 1 plays, all the 6 Music plays, Radio X, etc. We have got ourselves purely for they like the track. My artists have reached out to them. Themselves, which they do like. A lot of radio like it when artists reach out rather than management. They like that more. So I tend not to reach out, and my artists do that. For example, someone like Jess Izzat, one of my artists, had her first single played by Jess last September. And since then, we've released 5 singles since September that was part of an album that came out last week. And Jess has played 3 out of the 5 tracks. So, you know, you'll start to form a relationship with these people. And I think that's much more healthy in doing it that way than paying a PR company who's going to concentrate on one thing. So I'm just closing my WhatsApp. Who's just going to concentrate on that one single. It just means that you're going to make more of relationships with these people who in time you're going to want to work with them. And it's going to be easier for you to send stuff over rather having to beg and plead, which I suggest you don't do. If they like the track, they're going to play you. And I know some of you are thinking, well, how do I get my track to them? You know, especially when it's like you're putting your track on like BBC Introducing, and you've got 10,000 people also adding their stuff on BBC Introducing on that day. What do I do to make myself stand out? Firstly, I would go to the DJ that you are specifically trying to reach. I wouldn't necessarily DM them, but on Google or LinkedIn or Twitter, try and find out who their producer is, because it's normally the producer of the show that has a lot of say of who's being played, not necessarily the DJ. In some BBC introducing counties, it is the DJ. So, for example, I have a close relationship with Melita, who DJs for Brighton and the South, basically. So every time, you know, we're really good friends. So every time I reach out to her, and Melita being Melita, if she hates the song, she'll just say it's shit and she's not going to play it. But if she likes the song and she's really for it, she'll play it because she absolutely loves it. So I think gaining those relationships with people is really important, but also knowing who the producers are. And don't just pick producers who just play everything just because you want to get in with Radio One, you know. I would say start off doing your community first. So going in for the Soho radios, the Hoxton radios, they're all people that you can literally go onto Google and find out who, and LinkedIn. LinkedIn is my like saving grace. Literally just type in LinkedIn and just go Soho Radio. But first just go on to Soho Radio's website, find out who puts on what shows for what genre, tap into them, find them on LinkedIn and send them an email and just send them your press release. Also, it'd be good if you do some recon and actually listen to their show and just see if it's somewhere where you want your song to be placed. Because DJs and radio hosts will smell that from a mile off if you're just spamming people. So yeah, start off small. Start with your Hoxton radios, start with your Soho radio, start with Amazing Radio. Amazing Radio are really, really, really good. Also because they're also connected to Amazing Radio USA. And Amazing Radio USA are affiliated with a lot of small festivals in places like New York and stuff. So everything's connected. Then obviously tap up BBC Introducing. Oh, amazing. Well done, Joanna. Yeah, so like start befriending. These people are not out of your reach, especially from BBC, especially from Amazing Radio. Like just even talking to them on the regular, they're great people and, you know, they have time to talk to you. So I would definitely go for them. BBC Introducing, like I said, yes, you have to put whatever city you live in, and that's kind of, you don't have a choice. But don't forget, you do have other shows. So not just BBC Introducing, you also have BBC London. You also have other shows within the BBC. It doesn't have to just be Introducing. And that's really important as well, because they don't get sent as much music as what you think. So I think they're quite easy to get hold of. Again, Six Music, if you want to put your track towards them, I know that's fresh on the net. Their inbox can be a bit crap sometimes because they're closed for most of the week. But Tom, who does Fresh on the Net, which is Six Music, emerging artist, that is always open 3 or 4 days a week. I would drop it into that as well. And then so I'm just reading my notes. I also join a thing called Unsigned Guide. I don't know if anyone knows it or uses it. I think it's something like $5.99 a month. You've got everything on there. Sometimes it's a bit old, but then you do have the newer things on there. So the Unsigned Guide is basically a community. It's a website that has everything to do with live publications, radio stations. If you're looking for a solicitor, if you're looking for distribution, Unsigned Guide is good to just have a look, even if you just join it for a month, because it's a rolling contract. So you can have it for a month and literally just come off it. But I think it just gives you a good guideline list of who to kind of like reach out to. And it's got festivals on there. And the good thing about Unsigned Guide as well, is that if you click onto it, yes, Unsigned Guides, yeah. If you click onto it and click on to, I don't know, Amazing Radio, for example, or if you're clicking on to like Why Not Festival, it's already got the link in there for you to click on and it goes straight to them. So I do use that as well. Yeah, so sorry, I'm waffling on a bit. But yeah, so from PR company, if you're going to use that, just obviously know that from my experience, 99% of the time, it probably isn't worth 1,000. And I would do everything on my own. Know your community, who are your local radio stations. For example, as well, if you're in Brixton, one of the girls that I manage, she's very neo soul, jazz, spoken word, R&B. So there's lots of like online radio stations around Brixton area. Always tap up your community. If you kind of live here and from Manchester, so you have like two dual cities, tap up that place too, tap up north. If you have dual city, that's always really, really good. Unsigned guide. Okay, so yeah, I would start putting like press release out 4 weeks, 4 weeks, depending if you want a premiere. In my experience, premieres are good if you've never had one before, and it is kind of like being on Radio 1. It's just ticking off bucket list. In my opinion. And yeah, and then obviously what about music you want to send to places every year, Christmas? Do you still send a press release? Yes, you need to send a press release. It just gives them a breakdown of what it is, who you are, again, because they're probably talking to like loads of people. So then after that, we then start doing a lot of so we have a thing called we create a content calendar. So we basically know when we're putting content out when, so things are not overlapping. During this time as well, you probably have shows and this. I would hit it up to newsletters. I would we send things to everyone. So we kind of try to hit people who do have newsletters. So again, going back to your distribution, they probably have their socials as well. So you want to line up and saying, look, I've got this single out. I want to make sure that you're putting the word out there. You're putting me on your socials. Do find out as well if your distributor has spotlights. So normally distributor has like spotlights, like basically maybe you could be named as one of their spotlight artists for like July. Oh, again, sorry, Unsigned Guide. They also have a spotlight every month as well, which goes up to like thousands of people. So I would definitely do that. I would also send things to people like Music Union as well. Anyone that's in the biz, like create people talking about you. Music Union, they kind of like, they're really good. I don't know if anyone's with Music Union, but I would definitely be with Music Union just because in case anything happens to your music or someone takes it and you don't have a solicitor at this time, go for Music Union. They're the cheapest option. Yeah, so I would definitely hit those as well. We also use sometimes Submit Hub and Miso Soup. We don't spend a lot of money on Submit Hub though. We would probably spend max £20, but we would tap up like the 5 best ones that are mostly over like between 5 and 10,000 listeners. Submit Hub is definitely a good one when it works as well. Miso Soup, it's a hit and miss sometimes. You do have a lot of people on there. Miso Soup is a place where you can upload your single to. They're kind of like a little sort of like campaign PR company. So you upload your single, I think it's something like £26 the first time you do it, and it goes to hundreds of bloggers and people like that in the industry as well. It doesn't just, yes, Miso Soup, that's right, yeah. So it goes to hundreds of people who are in the business. It also goes to radio stations that way as well. You don't have to lift a finger. That's the great thing about Miso Soup. You simply make a page, upload your track, and then you'll just get things coming in, which either you accept or decline. So you can basically say, and again, we don't use any money except for paying. So they might offer you like they might say, okay, we're blah, blah, blah magazine. We can do this for you if you want to pay £10. We don't normally do that unless it's someone pretty big. But what they do, if they like your stuff, they will always offer you a free alternative, which is normally to put you on their Spotify for 1 week. So the fact that it goes on Spotify for 1 week and you get that like 50 times, we average on about like 50 to 70 Spotify playlists when we use Miso Soup. So it's good to have, like I said, because you don't have to do anything except for press accept, decline, yes, I'll pay, no, I won't. And it's just pretty handy. That campaign on Miso Soup lasts for 45 days. So I would even stick it like a week and a half before your single release. So then you've got a bit before and then you've got a lot of it after as well. Another thing to consider while you're doing your campaign is make sure all your platform photos are all up to date, your thumbnails are changed. When you release a single, you kind of almost want like new visuals as well. So the visuals like you did with your photographer, make sure you're changing up visuals, because people kind of notice if you release 3 songs and you've still got the same visuals on your Spotify banner and things like that, you need to change it. Why before would creators play your single then? No, but they can line it up. They can line it up for release. That's why I would do before. Yes. And then I can talk a bit about how am I doing with time? Okay, I can talk a little bit about PR companies as well. How long before release would you use Submit Hub? Submit Hub I kind of like use maybe a couple of days before. Independent PR companies that have been used, that have been actually okay. Liberty PR, Cannonball PR agency I'm using at the moment with one of my people. They just got me Complex magazine for one of my girls' video. And they also got me BBC London with Carrie and David Grant. So she's going in this Saturday to do their show to talk about her new single. So again, it's just working the process. It's process of elimination of what works for you. How much money do you want to spend? How much budget you want to spend? But when you're on a zero budget, like all of my artists are, we have to be really careful with where the money's going, because obviously I would want all their money to just go into producer, masterer, and things like that. That's why we do everything ourselves. We reach out to everyone ourselves. I'm kind of done. I think I've probably left loads out, and I'm sure you guys have lots of questions. So Andrea, I'm fine for if people want to just ask me questions.
Yeah, cool. I think I'll start with some questions. You guys can follow up. Just feel free to ask Cherryl anything you want to know about the music industry, as in like a manager's perspective in being an indie artist, because I think she'll answer any questions.
Yeah.
My first question for you is, what do you think, how much time should be spent in placing your song on playlists versus features on magazines?
Playlist is that is one thing I left out. Playlist is number one in my eyes. The thing with playlists, and actually I should really touch on this, the thing with playlists, and especially when you have your single going up and then you have, so I'm going to answer your question, Andrea, and I'm probably going to go and delve into something I missed out, which is really important. When you have put your single up with whatever distributor you have, please make sure that you have everything in place, like your Spotify for Artists is on, your Apple Music for Artists, that you have that sorted. I don't know if people know that there's an Apple Music for Artists, making sure that your Shazam you have, because obviously if your stuff gets listened to on radio and people like catching it and they want to Shazam it, make sure your Shazam page is on point. They're, again, really easy to reach out to. But yes, playlist is really important. I would say that's the number one thing you want going on. That is also something why I would suggest someone like Submit Hub, Miso Soup, because you can get on really good playlists. Also reaching out to the Hoxton radios, the Soho radios, because they've got really good playlists. And the people who are on their playlist and the people who follow their playlist are actual avid music listeners. So I would definitely do that. But yes, when you are filling out your editorial pitch, obviously you only have a certain amount of limited space. The main thing which we've done, which we found successful, not every time, but we've had quite a few editorial playlists across the board. Obviously, your single, one sentence about it, produced and mastered. I would only put their name if you could say that they are affiliated with someone, because then I would say it's a waste of space. So if it was like produced by who's also worked with, and then in brackets, whoever you would think matters. What is following up? What single, if you have any more singles coming up next, Spotify love to know that stuff, because they don't want to put you on a Spotify playlist and then and then thinking, oh, well, they've got nothing coming up. So what's the point? They want to know what's coming up. So if you've got, even if you don't know, but you know you've got music coming up, say it in a way like, I've got music following up in the next 3 months, or I've got another new single coming out in autumn, or something like that. And then also as well, what's happening with you? What are you doing live? They like to know what's happening live. So that is really important. But I think from my experience, I think the Apple pitch is slightly different from the Spotify for Arting pitch. But yeah, just make sure you have all these things in place. So yes, playlisting is really important. Everyone's like, can I just go and get a PR company and add me on playlist? No, it's the same thing as hitting and missing on radio. It just depends. But to help yourselves, don't forget, don't just tap into Spotify and Apple Music. You've got Tidal, you've got all these, you've got Amazon Music, which is absolutely huge now. You know, you've got all this sort of stuff. Again, go on LinkedIn, find out who the players are for Apple Music, for Tidal, and reach out to them and send them your press release. Sorry, I'm getting a few questions. Do you look songwriters, producers who don't perform but who release? Sorry, I don't know what you mean.
I think she means, do you look after songwriters and producers?
Who don't perform? I don't know, but I've worked with, I don't look after them, but I have worked with people who do. Yeah, just release music. And yeah, again, it's very similar, but obviously you'll have nothing live because you can't physically perform live. So yeah.
Cool. Any other questions, anybody?
Fabia.
Yeah, you can go ahead, put the mic on.
Hi.
Hey.
Yeah, probably I'd take a while to type. So
It's all right.
Yeah, no, thanks for all the information. It's really, really handy. I actually have 2 questions, if that's
Yeah.
okay. So you mentioned Shazam, which hasn't crossed my mind. Is that sorted by distribution service, or is that actively done by the artist?
So it is done by distribution. It should be done by the distribution service, but
Okay.
me being me, I always double check. And also I would contact Shazam anyway, just to make sure that you have a page with an actual photo, because I've seen so many artists use Shazam with no photos of themselves. So if your distributor isn't doing it, I would just contact Shazam myself and just say, hi, can I speak to like an artist liaison? I've just put my single up. I can see that my page has no photos of me or anything. Like, who's the best person to send it to?
Okay, yeah, brilliant, thank you.
That's all right.
And then the other one is rather basic, but press release.
Yeah.
Is that fairly similar to a one sheet, or is it more that the one sheet is you as more as an artist, and then the press release is more your actual release?
Exactly right. So the one sheet is basically the introduction of yourself. So if you are sending it to anyone who doesn't know who you are, everything should be on that one sheet. So press release, really similar, but it's just tailored for that actual single. So you want to put maybe a sentence about yourself, but you want to put a couple of sentences about what the song's about, what inspired you, all that information that you want to put. Again, if it's, you can say who it's produced and mastered by, or if it was done at like Metropolis Studios, you know, you just want to add in key things. And then obviously, again, what's coming up on the press release is really important, like where you're playing live, if you've got a whole bunch of dates, if you're releasing something tomorrow and you're doing all these shows in the summer, make sure you put them on. And then obviously links, like social links. And I would just say, just because I've seen so many press releases that does this, please, if you're doing press releases, try and do clickable icons, because I've seen people just do like long things, like www.instagram. So clickable links are the best. It looks neater, they take up less space, and it's very quick for the person who's reading it to just jump on to whatever they need to see.
Yeah. Great, thank you.
That's all right, no worries. Sorry, I'm just reading one question. I can send an EPK, I can send a one sheet, and I can send out one sheets, I can send out samples of a press release that we do ourselves. I'm happy to send that out to people. Feel free to just email me and tell me who you are and what you're looking for. I'll give my email and stuff out on here, actually. I'll type it in here after. Sorry, I'm just looking at these questions. Not sure if this is up topic, but how would an independent artist go seeking management? Oh Lord, that's a whole nother thing in itself. I just think it depends on where you're at. For me, the way I choose my artists, and I think I mentioned this in a coffee morning one time, how I would choose my artists is that they would have had already done pretty much everything themselves as an artist, as a brand. So they would have done the rounds, they would have done their own shows, they would have already sort of had basic knowledge of like who promoters are and things like that, and put out self-releasing. And when they get to a stage where they're doing well in numbers, and when I mean well, I don't mean like 100,000. You know, my artists only have like a range between 1,000 monthly listeners to 100,000 monthly listeners, and some of them only have like, their streams are maybe only like 5,000, and organically on Instagram, like they're already got like 3,000 people following them. It's difficult. I think you have to have all your bases covered. So I wouldn't attach myself to an artist yet if they still haven't tried to make relationships with people on their own and form some sort of relationship that they have already. I think you've got to do the basis first before reaching to a manager, because the first thing that we would ask is, okay, so who have you done shows with? Like, what connections do you have? Have you been on radio? I mean, things like being on radio isn't as important, but I think live is really important. I think you making sure that all your socials are kind of up to date. So everything that you can do yourself. And when you're at that stage where it's like, I can't do anything on my own, I need a manager to then take me to that next level. That's when you're ready for a manager. Sorry, I'm just reading another question I have: how to prevent getting on playlists that are actual not beneficial for the algorithm. Okay, so that's another thing. Obviously, it's difficult because it's like I know what you mean. Unless you're going on unless you're doing something where you start getting bots. Let's say you get say you go on Submit Hub, looks amazing, looks great. You need to do some research on these people, I would say, basic research before you even tap and go, yeah, I want to go with you for my playlist. You need to see like what country they're from. It's really difficult because obviously I know sometimes it's out of your hands, and it changes your algorithm, and it also changes your placement in Spotify and who is sort of like attached to you. It is difficult. I would say research is number one key. When you are going for playlists, make sure you have done a bit of research on them first. That's why when you do things like Move So Soup and things like that, I always vet them first, even if it's just a little type them into Google just to get a bit background. Right, I feel confident and happy that they're this, because there's always people trying to not be very nice or do negative things and try to get money by being bots. So I would definitely just, be patient and do some research. Does anyone else have any more questions for me?
There's another question right before that one about
Oh.
Amazon Music.
Oh,
Does Amazon Music as a pitch to playlist.
so does Amazon Music, etc., not have a platform to pitch to playlists? Not that I know of at this moment. I know that they are working on it, but Amazon Music have only basically just taken off in the last couple of years. I mean, to be fair, Apple Music have only done their Apple for Artists in the last couple of years too. So no, but what I would do when I go on LinkedIn, I would use certain words and try when I'm trying to find out who do the playlistings. I would use keywords like curator for Amazon Music or playlisting for Amazon Music, not just on LinkedIn, but I do that on Google as well, and you will find them. Because obviously all these people have so many playlists on their platform, you're bound to find either an assistant to a curator or someone. I would just, again, research. Research is 50% of everything. I spend half my time researching. Anyone else? Any good resources you use for marketing, example, AI? Oh, Lord, that's not my forte, if I'm going to be honest. I can give you a list of people my artists use. Yeah, I can give you a list for sure. Again, I've put that down on my list, and I will give that information to Andrea so she can pop it up for you. But I'm more than happy to give individuals samples of press release and one sheets and EPKs and all that sort of stuff. So just hit me up. I'm going to put my email address on here. So feel free to ask me what you need.
Do we have any more questions? Okay. When you say...
Oh, Alice, I think Alice had one.
Okay, Alice? Yeah.
Sorry, I couldn't find the microphone button.
That's all right.
Thank you so much. This is amazing. My notes are ridiculous. So many notes. This has been so good. Thank you both so much. So my question is it's for managers and other managers that you've connected with so far. Do you find that most managers are wanting to get their artists signed? Is that most managers' dream end goal? That's the question, if that made sense.
Okay, so me as an independent manager, I ask my artists what their end goal is, because everyone has different end goals. So some of mine just want to basically tour and play live for the rest of their lives. Great.
Yeah.
Some of them want to win a Grammy.
Yeah.
One of my artists is basically she wants a Brit, Grammy, Oscar. Great. Okay, that's her goal. So I just think everyone's different. So whenever I'm sort of in cahoots with an artist who want me to work with them, that's basically one of my first questions, what their end goal is. I can basically, when I first met Georgia, who is one of my artists that I've been with now for 4 years, I stopped doing her day-to-day from maybe a couple of months ago, because she now is managed by Tileyard. She got a really good deal with them. which I'm so happy for because I work with Tileyard a lot. Yeah, when she approached me, she literally was like, came up to me and I said, "What's your end goal?" And she came up, she said, "Brit, Grammy, Oscar." So
Yeah.
everyone's different
Okay.
and nothing is unachievable. As a manager, it shouldn't really scare us because even though I'm an emerging artist manager, I'm not a manager from Universal or Sony. I would like to think that I could even try to get you in the right direction, or at least try to get you your first few deals before you reach that goal.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm just not sorry.
Yeah, no, it's all right.
If I can just, yeah, I'm just in my head of potentially. I'm the same as Georgia. The goal is the same.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to figure out if there's a way without ever signing a massive record label of climbing that ladder to. Sorry, I live by Wembley Stadium.
That's
like,
all right.
literally like Wembley Stadium. So can I climb that ladder there? Without a record label, potentially my own record label. But I just wondered if there was a manager out there, if you think that somebody would be as nuts as me that thinks they could do it with me. I don't know. Do you know? Is there anyone out there like that?
Well, I'm like that. You have loads of managers out there that are like that. And then you've got to look at someone like Ray, for example. She was with a very big label. They I don't know if everyone knows the story, but I'll just break it down. She was with a very, very, very big label. She wanted to do. They wanted her to sort of change some of the things that she wanted to do. She didn't want to do it, drop them, and now she's doing huge things for herself.
Yeah.
So she is a perfect example of independency. You can still sign to and do certain deals with people, but to the point where they don't have to take everything.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. And thank you so much.
That's all right, because you as an artist, as soon as you get more and more people involved and the more you climb up that ladder, you're giving more and more of your percentage away to people. And that percentage gets very small as you go up. But then there'll be that hitting point, that ceiling point where you go, right, okay, well, I can compensate the fact that I'm giving whatever away because I'm earning fucking millions. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah.
But yes, there are managers like that. So another girl that I manage, Jessica Wild, she's the one who had her stuff on Complex recently, yesterday. And she only wants to do like a publishing deal. She doesn't want a record deal. She wants us to do it on her own. She wants to do her own under her own name. She wants to make up her own label, and I'm
amazing.
Like, and I'm all for it. And she wants to stay independent. So there are people like myself who are out there who yes, would do it.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
That's all right.
Thank you.
And then maybe one more question, and then we're gonna have to let it go.
Oh yeah, I can see. I think it's just like commenting, like Chance had the rapper, he doesn't have a label, that's true. But Ray took all the amazing connections with her. To be fair, I think Ray had yes, of course, you're going to get connections and stuff like that. But she, to leave a major label in the middle of her contract is a huge, huge thing. So for her to do that, I'm sure, it took a lot of balls. But also, she probably did take the contacts with her. To be fair, so would I. Because she earned that. And she's doing it from her own fruition. It's her music that's got her to where she is. Because she is bloody great. I've seen her twice now, and she's amazing.
Yeah, I found the question: when releasing, what puts your single on the chart? Is it sales or streams?
Streams, both. Yeah, they take into account. Obviously, if you're streaming like 100 million, but you sold 3, obviously they take into account the streams. So both mesh into you topping the like iTunes chart or the top 40 Capital FM chart. It's all taken into consideration.
Okay, I have one last question for you.
Yeah, go on.
To all the artists that are here, what is one piece of advice you would give them?
Okay, stick to your own music. Don't change just because, I don't know, like countries coming back around and this is coming back around. You know, before you get signed and stuff, stick to your guns. You are gonna get a hell of a lot of no's before you get that one yes that suits you. But don't change, like whether it be your live shows, whether it be your producer that you're working with says, I think we should do it like this. If you want to do it a certain way, you know your music and you know what you're trying to get out of yourself. Really, really stick to your music, because if you're good and it's that good, it will get there. You just have to stay true to yourself. Don't do something because someone else is saying this, that, and the other. Everyone's got their own opinion about your stuff, and that's what I mean. Your music's there to be critiqued, and not everyone's gonna like it. But if you know it's good enough, you're gonna get there. So yeah, stay true.
Yeah.
Don't change for anyone.
I mean, that goes on for everything, isn't it?
Oh,
Stay true to
100%.
yourself.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, I would definitely. That is my one piece. I always tell my artists, you know, they're like, oh, but like Radio One's playing all this kind of music. They're playing dance stuff. Do you think I should then do dance stuff? No. Like, if you want to top line and do dance stuff as well as do that, great. But if you're doing it because you think that's what's in and that's what's going to get you into the charts or this or whatever, you're going to lose yourself. You're going to lose your integrity of what you're doing in the first place. So yeah, stick to you and what you know, because you will get there, and it might take a fucking 100 million years, but it will happen.
Right. Amazing. I'm sorry, Nayana, we don't have time for your question, but feel free to contact Cherryl directly. She put her email.
My email's on the chat.
Yeah. Could you put it one more time, Cherryl?
I'll put it one more time, just so
Yeah.
it's recent. I'm really sorry I waffled a lot as well, and I talk really fast.
That's okay. We'll make it work. And also, you're going to be at the coffee morning on Friday.
I will be at the coffee morning on Friday as well. So if you guys are there, please come along. Like, let's chat in person. I've booked half the day off, so I'm free to stay after coffee morning as well. So yeah, I'll see you ladies there.
Amazing. And yeah, so the events coming up, we have tomorrow Brighton, if anybody's around for the cocktail meeting in Brighton, coffee morning on Friday, and after that we have the open mic that's happening on the 26th of June, and another coffee morning on the 28th of June in Brighton. So again, busy month. I want to say big thank you to Cherryl, because she's always really honest, straight to the point, and she keeps it real. And yeah, it's very important in this industry. So thank you so much, Cherryl. Thank you everyone for joining, and hope to see you in person at the next event.